Combat sports and the people who help make it work. Combat sports are hard. People get hurt, there's sweat, there can be tears, often there's blood. Spectators will see the bright lights, hear the booming voices of the announcers, and experience two warriors in hand-to-hand combat. But they do not realize that there are essential people making sure these events are safe and fair. And, well, they go unnoticed if everything goes smoothly. The notorious fight between Billy Collins Jr. and Luis Resto changed boxing and combat sports forever. It was a fight on the undercard at a Madison Square Garden bout in June 1983, and it highlights the importance of people working to make fights safe and fair. Collins had entered the fight as a betting favorite, but took a heavy, one-sided beating over 10 rounds and lost by decision. After the fight, Collins' father and head trainer felt Resto's gloves and noticed that they were thinner than normal and demanded that they be examined. After an investigation, Resto's trainer, Panama Lewis, was found to have removed an ounce of padding from each of the gloves, and that Resto had his hand wraps made harder by using plaster of Paris. This is a casting material. Resto had changed his fists from the weapons they were to something more. Collins suffered permanent vision loss and was not going to be able to box again. He then died in a car crash soon after this fight ended his career. This video will talk about some of these team members whom help make fights happen, our responsibilities, and how we all work together to keep fighters as safe as possible and still have an exciting fight to see. Some of this will vary state by state, sport by sport, and by individual state athletic commissions, but it will give you a good general idea of what is going on. In the end, the Billy Collins Jr. and Luis Resto fight is a warning of the inherent dangers within the fight game, a reminder of how vigilant we all need to be to ensure safety, and perhaps a point of reflection for us fans of combat sports. I'm Dr. Lucius Pomerantz, former competitor, now sometime ringside physician, and always fan of these sports. Let's get into the underappreciated and important people making it all work. First, there's the referee. They are the enforcer of the rules during a fight. They make sure things are fair, within the rules, and help keep the fighter safe. They are often confronted with the decision as to whether a fighter can continue to fight. This is primarily based on whether the fighter can intelligently defend themselves, but also accounts for damage that a fighter has sustained and how active they are in engaging with their opponent. Throughout the fight, the referee can give instructions and warnings to fighters and their corners. There is also constant communication with the medical staff. Then there's the ringside physician. There may be more than one depending on the size of the event. They are the ultimate guardian of the fighter's health, which is a difficult balance to strike in these very violent sports. Why do doctors participate in these overtly violent sports? Everyone has different reasons, but I will get philosophical here. I see the duality of humans and know that violence is part of our condition. We will always have a primal animosity. Through discipline and hard work, training, and focus, this violence can be guided and better humans can be created. Discipline, humility, teamwork, sacrifice. These are all good things. The person I am, as flawed as that may be, is better because I challenged myself with combat sports. I know that humans will do these things to each other whether I'm around or not, but if I can help promote safety and give people a constructive outlet, then I can rest easier. So back to the fight. We examine fighters before and after the fight, trying to catch anything that could result in harm to the fighter. We have a short time, but try to assess the nerves, including the brain, eyes, the heart, the lungs, and how the limbs work. Many athletic commissions will also expect the fighter to have additional tests like MRI of the brain, EKG to check the heart, and labs to make sure there are no diseases like hepatitis or HIV that could be dangerous to others in what could be a bloody fight. During the fight, we are closely observing for injury. We are constantly communicating with the referee about what we are both seeing and if there are any concerns. Between rounds or during the fight, the referee may ask the doctor to assess an injury to see if it is safe to continue. If there is an injury that could result in major harm to the fighter, beyond the expected damage of these sports, then we may have to decide the fight is over. Keep in mind that some of these athletes are in the 99th percentile of strength and speed. They are weapons. Broken bones, shaken brains, damaged eyes, lacerated internal organs. The list goes on. Every year, people die in the ring. None of us can forget that. In the end, we are the final call on the fighter's safety. During the fight, we are not there to treat the fighter, but only to maximize safety, and this might mean making a call when things become too dangerous. Immediately after the fight, we do reassess the fighters to make sure that they are doing okay. We may administer treatment if it is within our skill level and if there is time, but sometimes they get sent to the emergency department. The cutman or cut person is another crucial component of the medical team. These skilled people are treating the fighters' cuts between rounds and doing their best to reduce swelling, especially around the eyes, to preserve vision. Their job is simple: get one more round out of the fighters. This is done by limiting the effects of the damage they have sustained. They only have about 45 seconds to do their job between each round, and they have many tips and tricks to do their job. In a different video, I get to talk with high-level UFC cutman Mike Afanazayev, so stay tuned. The corner. The guys who are in the corner of the fighter. The fighter has their team. This usually includes a head trainer and an assistant or two. Sometimes they are called seconds. The head trainer will have created the game plan and strategy for the fight and then gives tactical advice between rounds. The assistants may also help with some of these tactical adjustments, but also will be helping with the fighter's equipment like gloves and tape and mouth guard and water. They are also helping with the fighter's recovery between rounds. The fight can be ended by the fighter's corner if they feel their fighter cannot win the fight and is taking too much damage. A cut person may be in the fighter's corner depending on the venue. They may actually be employed by the fighter, but some events, the cut person is there with the promotion. Inspectors. Inspectors are also a critical part of the rule enforcement of fights. They will observe the fighter's equipment, including the hand wraps and gloves before the fight. They will also often escort the fighters into and out of the ring and make sure that the corners of the fighters are following the rules. They may have some extra work to do if the fight spills outside of the normal confines. It is the inspectors who are crucial to preventing another Resto versus Collins Jr. The promoter is the person who's making the whole event happen. They are the ones putting money where it needs to go. This includes logistics of the fight, including the ring or the cage, lights and cameras, matching the fighters up, and getting the fans in the seats. On a side note about equipment, I had to stop a fight once because a fighter's Achilles tendon had become exposed from a cut at their heel when it had been caught by an edge of the cage that myself and others had missed on inspection prior to the fights. Apparently the ring dipped down with pressure, creating a gap that was large enough for the fighter's heel to get wedged and catch that edge. Hopefully, when the promoters are getting the fighters to agree to fights, they are keeping in mind the safety of the fighters and doing their best to avoid dangerous situations, like huge skill or age discrepancies. The recent Mike Tyson versus Jake Paul fight did bring in some ethical considerations of having a near 60-year-old with recent medical issues fight someone half his age. The Athletic Commission will sign off on the proposed fights to make sure there's not a severe mismatch in skill, record, or age to ensure safety. The fighters and their corners are also involved in this process. There are fights where athletic commissions do not have jurisdiction or are not used. Both of my fights were at casinos on Native American reservations. This was a long time ago now. So back to Resto and his trainer Panama Lewis. In 1986, both Resto and Lewis were convicted of assault, conspiracy, and criminal possession of a deadly weapon, turning Resto's fists into something more, and both served 2.5 years in prison. As you can expect, there were lawsuits and subsequent rule changes to make sure nothing like this could happen again. It is a reminder that these sports are incredibly violent, and that the boundary between sanctioned violence and something even darker is thin. It is the responsibility of the referee, the doctor, the inspectors, the promoters, athletic commissions to make these sports as safe as possible. It is not easy. I also want to put some pressure on you, the fan. You are voting with your eyes and your money what you want to see. When does it go too far? Hopefully, you are thinking more about athletes' safety. What should be allowed? Is taking performance-enhancing drugs further weaponizing a fighter? What if both combatants are taking them? In a sport where, within the rules, someone could be beat unconscious and potentially die, when is a line crossed? If the referee is slow to stop a fight because they want to give the fighter a chance to make a comeback, but they get hurt more? Did they do something wrong? Why? Should a fighter know when their opponent is done and stop themselves? Also, long term, we know that many of these athletes will go on to have life-altering injuries. We see the guys with the slowed speech or tremor, arthritic, painful, stiff joints, or other chronic issues. There's no way around it. Some of these gladiators' lives are shortened by the battles they are in for our enjoyment. When is it enough? Do we owe anything to them for their sacrifices? The National Football League has pensions. I raised a lot of questions, and I would love to hear your opinions below. Hopefully, you now know a bit more about the team that ensures a safe, fair, and exciting combat sport event. There's a lot that goes on behind the scenes, even the small local shows. The people involved love the sport and are doing the best they can, just like the sports themselves. The organizing of these events and the care of these athletes is chaotic and beautiful at the same time. I'm Dr. Lucius Pomerantz, board certified in orthopedic surgery and lifestyle medicine, former competitor in combat sports, and occasional ringside physician, doing my best to educate those of you who love combat sports. If you appreciate these videos, please like, share, subscribe, and get notifications. Thank you.